So I want to welcome you once again to today's personal development class. We call it Transform Your Life. Okay. Today's session, we are going to be moving on from the last session we did. And I'm hoping that by the end of this session, it's going to be an opportunity for everyone to, put their life on track, put their life with clarity of purpose, clarity of understanding, and knowing where you are supposed to be in life. Okay. So once again, I'm saying congratulations for making it. I know I said congratulations last week, but I'm saying congratulations again for making it to the second class. Before the end of the session, you will understand why I'm saying congratulations once again. Okay. Um, I just also want to reiterate that you have made an empowering decision to begin a transformative journey. And I believe that you won't go through this process and remain the same, because it's going to set you on a path of clarity. It's going to set you on a path of purpose, and then it's going to set you on a path of lasting success. Part of my main aim of running this training is to help you understand that success is not a mystery. Okay. Success is something that can be defined, something that can be achieved. Success is designed to be predictable. So you go to your house, you open the door, you on the light switch, and you expect the bulb to come on. When you wake up in the morning, you expect the sunlight to be shining. So you see that life is designed in such a way that we can expect what we want to see, and it will happen the way we see it. For many of us in our personal life, that is not the same. What we experience personally is not based on the expectation, or it's not based on what we would want to experience in life. And today I want to, you know, guide you through that process of learning how to make things predictable for your life, for your business, for your family, for every area of your life. Okay. So I'm trusting God that you will not only be the hearers of some of the things that we are discussing in this 5 week session, but you will also be someone who is going to put it into practice and be able to bring great results out of it. A famous scripture in the Bible says that when the seed sower went to sow the word, it said that some gave birth to 30 fold, some 70 fold, some 100 fold, while some, of course, did not give birth to any fruit. But I'm hoping that almost all of us here in this conversation will be part of that 100-fold that will maximize the results of this session. So I welcome you once again. Together, we will uncover your life's purpose, develop powerful personal leadership, build meaningful relationship, and implement effective system that will help you to achieve significant personal outcomes in your life. Okay. So um, moving on, we discussed. I showed you this presentation last week, which is talking about the transformation compass, the 5 key areas this training is going to focus on. The first one is purpose, discovering your life purpose and developing your life blueprint, which we discussed last week. And today we are going to be moving on to discuss leadership, building a strong foundation by developing your personal leadership. And then we are going to take it further by moving towards discussing relationship, systems, and of course, personal outcome. I believe that God is arming you through this teaching, a process that can help you become all you want to be in life. The way I put it is a process that will help you start right, stay right, and become preeminent. Okay. So the transformation compass, I believe, is a life hack that will help you to plug every area of your life together and see things begin to work the way you expect them to work. Okay. So I am hoping that by fully understanding this transformation compass, your life will no longer be based on guess. You will no longer be wasting your time trying to look for what works or what doesn't work, but rather you will know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and you will run faster and further in a short time, simply because you know what exactly you are supposed to be doing with your life. Okay. um Last week, from the previous session we had last week, one key thing that we talked about was purpose. Okay. And for me, I believe in this whole process that purpose is the starting point towards success and fulfillment in life. Okay. So lack of clarity, stagnation, and failure is a sign of a life that lacks purpose. Okay. So when you discover that your life is not moving in the direction that you want it to move, I don't just want you to focus on external factors. I don't want you to focus on issues that you believe might be the factors limiting your success or your progress in life. I want you to first begin to ask yourself, do I know my purpose? Am I running on purpose? And is my life moving towards my preferred destination, God's ordained destination, and the things I'm supposed to be doing in life? Okay. So in the group, somebody asked a question, and I promised, because it's from the previous session, that I'm going to answer it in today's session. And the first question was like this. She said, talking about purpose, can we say that what we derive joy in doing, like passion, is our purpose, or is it two different things? Yes, it can be two different things, but at the same time, it can be the same things. Okay, so for instance, you are supposed to find joy doing your purpose. What you find joy doing is not necessarily purpose, but your purpose must be something that you find joy in doing. Okay, so when birds are flying, they find joy in flying. When a horse is running, the horse finds joy. When a fish is swimming, they also find joy in swimming. So it means that whatever it is that you've discovered as your purpose, it's also something you will find joy doing. Many people think that purpose is, some form of restriction. Maybe you want to go on this path, but your life also wants to go on that path. Not necessarily. I've listened to examples where somebody was talking about Moses in the Bible, where Moses felt frustrated, leading the children of Israelites out of Egypt. Probably that's not what he wanted, and God was putting a burden on him. But I beg to differ. Before Moses even started talking about responding to God's call for his life, he had already started taking decisions towards that. Remember, God had not spoken to him, but he was the one that started fighting for the Israelites, and in the process killed an Egyptian. It means that his heart was yearning for it. His emotions were going for it. His passion was towards making life different for his people. So when God spoke to him about it, it was just almost in line with what he had passion for. So I always tell people that there is always a chance, there's always a possibility that what you have passion for is your purpose. There's always a 90% possibility that what your heart yearns for, what you desire, what you wake up every day asking yourself, what can I do about this? What can I do about that? Can be a clue. It can be a link towards your purpose. But if we are not paying attention to some of those things, especially if we don't think it's going to, give us some form of significance in life, or, give us access to wealth, we might have a way of downplaying it. But your purpose is always something that when you discover it and begin to work in it, you will definitely enjoy it. The second part of our question is, what if what we love doing, what we have passion for, doesn't align with what God wants us to do? What can be done? I'm kind of confused here. Okay. So I have a simple answer. When I read it, I just smiled, but I have a simple answer. If what you are doing, that you love doing, that you are passionate about doing, is different from what you are convinced that what God wants you to do, the answer is simple. Then stop what you like doing. Okay, and follow your purpose. So if what you like doing is in contrary to what God wants for you, what you believe your purpose should be, then you quit what you like doing and then you move on with what you are supposed to do. The enemy of the best is the good. There is always going to be something that you have as an alternative to your purpose. There's going to be something that you have as an alternative to your success. But you remember, alternative is not the real thing, it's still an alternative. So when you have that two questions in the balance, this is what God wants me to do, this is what I like doing, then you are going to shut down what you like doing and follow what God wants you to do. I'm going to discuss more on that. I think the answer is also more align with some of the conversations we are going to have today. So um, listen further as we dive deeper into the conversation. Okay. So today we are going to be discussing personal leadership. Okay. And some of the things that we are going to cover in personal leadership is first, we want to look at um, the power and purpose of personal leadership, experiencing personal transformation, purpose driven goal setting, self awareness, man in three dimensions, and and uh, key practical examples. Of course, there's also a workbook that is attached to this conversation that I'm hoping to share with you guys. So by the end of this session, we will also review the the workbook like we did last week. And I'm hoping that it's going to help to provide a practical insight into what we are going to be sharing today. One of the things I want to say when it comes to personal leadership, one of the things I want to emphasize so deeply and so dearly in my heart is that personal leadership is about taking full responsibility of your life. Okay. Personal leadership is taking full responsibility of your life. Okay. So, what it means is that you are the CEO of your life. Whenever we say this, it sounds contrary, especially if you are a Christian and you are coming from a spiritual or religious background. Whenever we make statements that sound so heavy in the ear, it sounds like, am I alienating myself from God? Am I separating myself from God? Am I declaring independence? No, you are not. Remember our point of departure, our point of context is that our life is already from God, who is our maker. But when God made your life, God designed it in such a way that you have full authority over the activities that govern your life. That was how God designed it. So when God created Adam, when we look at the book of Genesis, he created Adam to take charge. Adam was responsible for his environment. Adam was responsible for his circumstances. Adam was responsible for his outcomes. Okay? The Bible said that when God presented the animals, the different creation to Adam, whatever Adam named them, that was what they become. That was what they were called. He said to Joshua, this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth. He said, meditate on it. Out of it, you will make your way. He said, you will make your way prosperous and you will have good success. A successful life is not something that is embedded in a mystery. It's not an esoteric experience that someone cannot explain. No. A successful life is as a result of a careful planning, a careful coordination, and someone taking charge of their life, taking charge of their destiny, and moving towards the direction. In fact, scripture says that I've given to you today life and death, health and sickness, poverty and curses, blessings. He said, choose this day, make the right choice. It means that by intentionally making the right choice to move my life where I want it to go, is what I summarize as personal leadership. Is taking the wheels and beginning to drive your life towards the direction that you believe it has to go. So even when God says that I want you to be this or I want you to be that, there is a level of responsibility on your part. There is a level of ownership on your part where you take up that responsibility, make it personal to yourself, and then you begin to drive towards the destination that God has designed for you. Okay. So personal leadership, I see it is the foundation of true success. Okay. Why many might associate leadership with leading others. One of the things I believe that the essential foundation of leadership, the essential foundation of the understanding the word leadership is first of all leading yourself effectively. Okay. Personal leaderships involve taking responsibility for your life, making intentional choices, and continuously developing yourself to become someone others admire and respect. Okay. So what even makes people to follow you is the fact that they see you doing something with your life, they admire, the boldness, they admire the results, and then they decide and desire to follow you. So leadership does not start with influencing people. Leadership, first of all, starts with influencing yourself. It is when you influence yourself in the right direction that that influence is noticed by people and they begin to resonate towards your leadership. So the essence of personal leadership, when we talk about it, what we are talking about is self-awareness. Are you self-aware? Self-management, self-development. Okay, so when people follow you, it is only a demonstration of the fact that you have the ability to lead yourself well. So they now find something in you that they desire, that they want in their own life. That is what drives people to you. So your personal leadership is your capacity, to directly influence your own life. Okay, have respect and ability that others will desire as a guide to their own life. That is what is key. So most times we all want to run off and achieve success. We all want to run off and get success, established. But we forget that most importantly, the person is the reason for the success. The activities or the results in every area of your life is as a result of who you are. Remember last week we established that transformation, what we are trying to do in Transformers Global, is to help you understand that change must come from inside of you. You are the person who is carrying the results. The Bible said, guard your heart, for out of it comes all the issues of life. It means that everything that you experience in life, externally, internally, is as a result of who you are. So when you understand who you are properly, what happens is that you turn and release those resources, those blessings lying within you, into breeding external results. Okay, so your personal leadership is what people actually spot on you. So when they see you, they say, "Ah, wow, this guy is something. This guy is good. This guy, I love this thing about this guy," and they begin to resonate towards you. So that influence is first your ability to lead yourself. First, your ability to do what others could not do. First, your ability to demonstrate that you have capacity within yourself to do something extraordinary. And what happens is that people begin to resonate towards you. That is when they want to learn from you. That is when they want to find out how you are doing it so that they can do it. Or probably they just want to associate with your success. So if you don't understand that everything about success in life, everything about going to your desired destination is first about leading yourself, you will definitely miss the mark. Okay. So, but one of the things I also want to emphasize is in the power and purpose of personal leadership is that you must begin with purpose. Okay, so that is where it starts. It starts from purpose. If you don't start from purpose, then you will miss the mark. Okay, the goal of starting with purpose is that you start with the end in mind. So if you are trying to develop your personal leadership, where you start from is who you are, because what you develop is as a result of who you are. That's why our last week conversation is very important. Because when I understand who I am, what I'm supposed to do in life, it answers the question of why I want to do what I want to do. If I'm going to be making choices, I now understand why I want to make those choices. If I want to make a choice of where I want to live, who to marry, the kind of things I want to do, you see, it has a point of departure. There is a why to the reason. I now understand why I am making those choices, why I am moving from one location to the other, because the reason for that has been established. Okay, so the right way of doing purpose is that it must start. The right way of doing personal leadership, sorry, is that it must start from your purpose. And if you did not pay attention very well, or maybe you joined us halfway or you dropped halfway, I will encourage you to go on our website, get last week conversation, listen to it more, get the workbook, go through the workbook, and make sure that you establish proper God-guided purpose for your life. That is where the leadership, comes from. Let me bring up that image once again. You remember the transformation compass. Okay. I wrote something here that outcomes are a result of a process. Everybody wants a finished product. So everybody wants outcomes. Everybody wants benefits. Everybody wants results. But here is what I want you to write down. All products, all benefits, all outcome is a product of a process. They are endpoint of a process. Okay. So when you go home and you feel hungry and then you want to buy bread, the bread you are eating is called a product. But the bread that you are eating did not fall from the sky, is an end product of a process. Okay, so somebody had to make the flour, somebody has to buy the flour, somebody has to mix it, somebody has to put it in the oven, somebody has to package it, another person has to bring it to the shop, then you have to buy it and then bring it to your house. So you see all the processes it took for that end point, that end product to manifest in your house and be able to satisfy your hunger. That is the same way life and success is. So when you look at my screen, what I am trying to show you through this presentation is that there are processes that lead to life outcome. There are processes that lead to life outcome. Okay. And it starts with purpose, to leadership, to relationship, to systems, and then outcomes. And by the time we finish these 5 weeks, you will understand how all these things come together to help you have a well-defined success for your life. Okay. So, like I said, you have to establish your purpose, and then purpose will do what? Purpose informs your leadership. If you skip any aspect of this process, what will happen is that you will begin to have problem. You won't get the end result. So most people have a desired end result. But what happens is that we don't understand that life is a process. The moment you establish your purpose, the next thing you have to ask yourself is, what process do I need to put in place in order to achieve the end result of my purpose? There has to be a process. Anything you are pursuing in life that is not organized around a process, you are definitely not serious about it. Okay. So most people desire the end result, but not everyone is willing to go through the process. When we advertise for this session, I'm sure we nothing less than 1,000 people saw the advert. Okay. And about 80 people registered. Okay. So out of the 80 people registered, about 40 people signed up to be in the groups. So we have 4 groups. About 40 something people signed up to be in the group. Okay. Last week we had a session. I'm not sure if we were more than 20 people in the last session, maybe 20 or 30 or thereabouts who joined the actual session. But by the end of the session, probably half of those people must have dropped out. Okay. So after the session, we said, okay, take the workbook, work on it, and then join in our weekly session where we discuss practically the guides in those workbook, ask personal questions, and see what is going on. When we did work group, about, I think the first group we had meeting, it was about 1 or 2 people that were in the meeting, and then the second one, I think it was about 2 or 3. I think the highest number we saw in each group meeting was about 4 people. Okay, and out of that 4 people, only 2 people have actually submitted their workbook for me to review based on what they do. So you discover where it started. 1,000 people had access. Okay, they had access to the opportunity. Only 2 were able to create something out of it. But let me also shock you. Out of that 2, okay, the only people you that will manifest something out of that 2, you are also not sure whether it's going to be just 2 people. Maybe out of that 2, 1 person is going to make good of what we are talking about. 1 person is going to manifest the results of what we are trying to talk about. So you discover that 1,000 people had access to an opportunity, only 1 person was able to make results out of it. That is why the Bible says that narrow is the way that leads to life. Okay, the pathway to life is narrow. That is why you have few people who are rich. That is why you have few people who are successful. Okay, so those people are not successful because there is something special or powerful about them. Those people are successful because they are willing to go through the process. Successful athletes go through the process. They know what it means to wake up early. Successful students go through the process. They don't spend all their time playing games. They know when to read. They know when to have sessions with their teacher. They know when to, put in the best that will make them to get the best result. So everybody who does not go in, follow the process that leads to the end result, what happens is that they never make it successful in life. So it's not something that is controlled by God in heaven. It's not something that is controlled by your environment. The same environment you say that things are so difficult, people are making money every single day. But who are they? They are those who are willing to go through the process. So that is why we are presenting this process to you. And you can see how I painted the picture. Only two people have been able to show me physically, to show me. Probably most of you did it, but I never saw it. But only two people showed me what their plan, their purpose, or the program they are pursuing, what it looks like. So success is not just going to be based on the fact that you have a wishful thinking in your head. Ask yourself, what process have I created behind what I want to achieve in life? Okay. So if I'm to explain further to you what I'm trying to share, one of the things I want to say is that you can't fully develop yourself when you don't know your purpose. You can't fully walk in personal leadership when you don't know your purpose. That is why you see sometimes people struggle. Okay. Sometimes you will hear people say, I want to develop myself. Well, what exactly are you developing? Let me also say this. Why some of us struggle with personal development is because you don't know your purpose. Because you can't develop what you don't know. You can't start working on something out of the blue sky. There has to be a defined path. So it is when I have a defined path, then I can develop myself in my defined path. So let's say someone wants to go into higher institution, and they ask you, what course do you want to read? You say, I want to be a teacher. Okay, so because you've defined that you want to be a teacher, then there is a set of curriculum, there is a set of guideline, there is a preparation, there are textbooks, there are things that are organized and designed to help you become a teacher. Most of us are struggling. When we talk about personal development, you say you don't know how to go about personal development. Here is one thing you might be missing. Personal development only supports purpose. You only support what you've discovered, you believe is supposed to be your purpose in life. Okay, so find something that aligns with who you are supposed to be, agree on it, and then you discover the path for personal development. Okay, so you don't see a lot of people who are confused, in the pressure to develop themselves just because their environment or where they are coming from is putting a lot of pressure on them. No, it is only happening because they don't have meaningful defined purpose. Okay, so a tree cannot bear fruit without first developing the trunk, the branches. Okay, a tree won't even bear fruit without first of all somebody going to plant a seed, that seed growing the roots, and then it grows big, and then it bears fruit, and then people can enjoy it. What you want is the fruit. What I am trying to say from this end of my microphone is that that endpoint starts with a process. And until you identify that process, success will still be looking like a mystery to you. Okay. So if you are supposed to be a movie star and you start taking a course on IT, you are still going to be doing something productive. You are still going to be doing something that will earn you money. You are still going to be doing something that looks significant. But are you doing something in line with your purpose? The answer is no. So there has to be a predefined purpose, and then you begin to train yourself in the area of that predefined purpose. That is what helps you to achieve your greatest significance in life. So the goal of this transformation compass is to help you, first of all, build on purpose. And the next one is to do what? To develop your personal leadership. In fact, let me say this. Sometimes you see people they jump into relationships. So let me show you how it works. You discover your purpose. That means that let's say you want to be a movie star, okay? And then you find you want to build relationship. You want to go online, send DM to people who are movie stars, or you want to build connection with people who are movie stars because you believe that is what you are supposed to be doing. And oftentimes you see it doesn't work because the challenge is that you see yourself in them, in those movie stars, you see yourself in them. That is why you want to build the connection. But they don't see themselves in you. That is why the other side of the relationship is difficult. So most times you find people when they discover purpose, but they have not developed that purpose into who they are supposed to be. They are trying to build relationship. They are trying to meet people. They are trying to get ahead. They struggle in getting ahead simply because those people you are trying to be in relationship with are not seeing themselves in you. And that is where personal leadership comes in. Okay. So your personal leadership helps you to bring purpose into yourself in such a way that when people see you, they recognize that there's something in you that is unique to them. And you also recognize that there's something in them that is also attractive to you. That is how relationships are formed. So if you jump the process, that's why I said that there's a reason why we are teaching it the way we are teaching it. We started with purpose, we are going to personal leadership. The next one is relationship. If you try to jump any of those process, what happens is that it becomes a challenge. I remember I remember a few years down the line, we wanted to do some programs. I got a contact of one federal dignitary, sent him a message, sent him a couple of messages. We would like him to be at the event. He never even responded. Okay, we did the event. It was very massive. While we are doing the second big event, one day my phone rang. Okay, I looked at the phone. It was his name that was appearing in my phone. I was shocked. I was like, I've been trying to send messages to this person and the person has never responded. Now they are the one calling me. Okay. So what I believe that happened was that at that point that I saw the vision, I saw the dream, I saw the purpose, it was burning in my heart, I want to share. I had not already lived it. But by the time I lived it, everybody could see that the vision was alive in me and then it could attract them. Instead of trying to pursue relationships, first of all, build the capacity to deliver results in yourself. That is what will make relationships to be attracted to you. Okay, moving on quite fast. Our time is running so much today. So, experiencing transformation, why do people struggle for change? Okay, the first thing is we always say is that people struggle for change because they lack discipline. But what exactly is discipline? I want to redefine discipline for you today. What exactly is discipline? So, when we say people struggle because of discipline, what exactly is discipline? The Bible says in the book of Proverbs 29, verse 18, that when there is no revelation, when there is no vision, people cast off restraint. What is casting off restraint? They cast off discipline. Okay? The New Living Translation said that when people do not accept divine guidance, they run wild. Running wild is running without discipline. So let me help you understand why you have been struggling with discipline. Discipline is not as difficult as we make it to be. Discipline is not as too much responsibility for us to engage in. No. The reason why many of us struggle with discipline is because we don't know our purpose. Living a disciplined life is supposed to align with purpose. When you have not understood clearly what your purpose, what your assignment is supposed to be in life, what happens is that you are going to be running wide. Running wide means that you do this today, tomorrow you do the next one, next tomorrow you jump into the other one because you don't have an established path for yourself. So when you want to go to school, they ask you which discipline. Part of what they ask you is which discipline. Okay, the course you are reading is almost like a discipline. It's a path that you are following. It's something strict. It's a core area of focus. Why many of us lack discipline is because we have not established a core area of focus in our life. And one key aspect of discipline is knowing your purpose. What is knowing your purpose? starting with the end in mind. Okay, so how do you start with the end in mind? You first of all discover, what is it that I'm supposed to do with my life? Who am I supposed to be? And then you begin to, you see, like when a painter wants to paint an image, the image is in their mind. And you give them the canvas, they begin to paint. Where is that image coming from? The image is coming from their mind. Or a wood carver. They put a wood on the table and they begin to carve. The image is in their mind. As they think on that image, they begin to carve. So what is happening is that they are living out whatever is inside them. They are bringing it out into the world. That is how your own life is supposed to be. So it takes discipline to do that. But if you don't have a picture, that end point in mind that you are supposed to bring in for the world to see, you are going to think is everything, and then you start doing everything. But when you already know what you are supposed to do and your heart is established in it, discipline becomes easy. You begin to simply walk in it. I remember when we were starting this session, someone asked a question today that I answered about, if you have something that you like and then God wants you to follow a particular path, what do you do? Okay. It takes discipline to understand that once I follow this path, I keep to that path. In teaching personal transformation, there's something I call shedding. When you discover your purpose, other things have to go. When you discover your purpose and begin to work in it, other things have to go. They might not go at same point. Okay. So let's say, for instance, you are working, you have a family, you're taking care of a family, you have a job, and then you discover purpose. It doesn't necessarily mean, okay, quit your job and jump into the purpose, except God expressly makes a plan for that for you. Okay. But it doesn't necessarily mean, okay, quit your job, focus on your purpose. No, it means you begin the purpose, you begin to walk in step, but time is going to come when you have to quit your job. Sometimes I hear people say, but you have to have multiple streams of income. Multiple streams of income. I once heard somebody teach, from the book of Genesis, that the minimum stream of income we are supposed to have is four. Okay. And then he gave an example, the four rivers that flowed in the Garden of Eden. He said that when the river came out, it divided into four rivers, and four rivers flowed. And he said that we are supposed to have four streams of income. But what he didn't think about is that it was one river that branched into four rivers. It started as one river and then it branched into four rivers. What I believe, by understanding, by revelation, by common sense, is the fact that your purpose should be able to give you multiple streams of income. It doesn't mean have multiple purposes. It doesn't mean have multiple things you are doing. You are supposed to have one purpose that you have discipline on, but that purpose will be done in such a way that you are going to have multiple streams of income. So, for instance, someone was saying in the last session that they want to be a public speaker. So, if you believe that your purpose is to speak into people's life, so how can it be turned into multiple streams of income? The first one is that you could write a book. You could write books. You could have trainings. You could have speaking engagements. You can have online courses. You can set up a YouTube channel and start having engagements. So those become the extra source of income channels to the single source of purpose. So the purpose is what is powering everything. But at the end of the day, there are multiple streams. It's like a tree. Another dimension to that explanation is a tree. Okay, a tree grows out a trunk. From one tree, you have different branches with the same fruits. Different branches with the same fruits. So at the end of the day, the purpose is what is branching out into other many things. But it is powered by that God given mandate, that direction that you have, where your life is supposed to be moving towards. Okay. So when you find your path, there has to be shedding. Shedding is progressive. It might not happen instantly. Some it might take them years, some it might take them months, but there has to be shedding so that you are fully established on what God has called you to do. Okay? So why do people struggle to change? They lack self-discipline. They have limiting beliefs and wrong mindsets. Absence of clear goals and purpose. And then the last one is, change begins when you identify and confront your barriers. So, what are those barriers? Some of those barriers are legitimate success. Some of those barriers are good, which is the enemy of the best. If you are not intentional about following the path of your purpose, then you might not get there. Okay. Next one I want to share quickly is the purpose driven goal setting. Okay. Set goals that align with your purpose. So you see that last week we talked about purpose, and we even talked about having at least 3 action points that has to do with your mission. Okay. So you write your purpose, you develop your vision, and from your vision you develop your mission. From your mission you develop your goals. Set goals in line with what you want to achieve. I shared last week how several years ago, I think about 5 years ago, I developed a vision board. And after 5 years, I saw everything. In fact, on the vision board, I put a blank book and I wrote my book, meaning that I want to publish a book. I put pictures of large room conferences that I'm planning to host a conference in the future. I put pictures of my family, properties I would like to own, things I want to experience. I even put a graduation card. I was looking for the picture. I had a very busy day today. When I remembered, I wanted to, project the picture and show you guys. But when I find it, I might just send it in the group for those of you in the group so that you will see. I even put a graduation picture. I wanted to get my master's. Almost everything that I wrote down in my vision board after 5 years, I saw it came to pass. All of them. There was no single thing. I remember one of the things I had in my vision board was a property. I wanted to buy. When I wrote the vision board, I didn't have a single property. I didn't have a single land entitled to my name. I put a picture of an open land, a green grass. The day we secured that land, I was looking at it. It was just like a green grass. And I looked at my vision board. I was like, this even looks like this is where I got the picture that I put on the vision board. So the point is, every single detail on that vision sheet was achieved. Create specific goals for your life. You hear it every day. You've heard it online. You've had your pastor preach it. But you will find out that it is very few people who have specific goals for their life. That is why I said where the road meets the rubber is the fact that we hear these things, but we don't do it. What you do with what you know is more powerful than what you know. And that is why we are talking about personal leadership. Personal leadership is about forcing yourself to do the things you know, insisting on yourself to do the things you know. Many people don't do it. You want to be great, but you don't want to enter the process of being great. I was listening to this guy the other day, an interview. Um, what's his name again? He was the Usain Bolt. Yes, I was listening to an interview where he was talking about the difference between gift and talent. You know, he has been running all his life. He believed he's going to be the fastest man on earth. He was talking about how he will wake up early in the morning and he will be running. He's putting the effort every single day. He wakes up in the morning. You can't be the champion of the world and then you just run once in a day. You can't be the most successful student and then you just read your book once in a month or close to the exams. You can't be a successful business person and you just do marketing once in a year. You can be a successful speaker and then you don't do anything about speaking. You don't even make any arrangement to speak. You have to put yourself on task on daily basis, moving towards the area of your dream. That's the essence of the goal. So when we look at the worksheet, you will see, you will explain better. I will explain better in practical terms what I'm trying to say. But whatever you have established as your purpose, whatever you have established as your life mission, you have to translate it to goals that you can do yearly. You have to translate it to goals that you can do monthly. You have to translate it to goals that you can do weekly. And then you have to translate it to goals that you can do daily. You can't build a successful spiritual life and then you don't take any spiritual action every day. You can't be a successful business person and you don't take business actions every day. So whatever you have established as the core of your purpose, you must ask yourself, what must I do every day to contribute to my success? What will I do every day to contribute to my purpose? So the idea is not for you to write it down and tell me, okay, I know my purpose, I've written it down. No, you have to develop goals, break those goals into actionable steps in a way that you can track your progress on a day-to-day basis. So at the end of the week, you look at your purpose and you ask yourself, what did I achieve this week in line with my purpose? Okay, I'm going to run quickly. I will explain a bit further on that one. So this one is self-awareness. The last part is self-awareness. Man in three dimensions. What do I mean by that? By understanding that you exist in three dimensions. Okay, so you are a spiritual man who has a connection with God and higher purpose. You have a soul which talks about your intrapersonal, understanding your emotions, your thought patterns, okay? Understanding yourself. And then you have a physical body talking about your interpersonal skills, building healthy relationship with others, okay? So you must understand that these three aspects of your life work together to make you successful. I remember when I landed on a job, okay, I prepared so much physically. I developed my soul, believing, developing the confidence, knowing that I could get it. But when I got close to getting the job, I also got spiritual insights on what I should do in order. Last week, I shared a testimony about how God guided me in writing a proposal that I used to secure a business. Okay, so but I know how to write a proposal. My mind is developed. I have the set of skills to translate that proposal into results. I also know how to get the job done. But there is also a spiritual element that guides, that aids my soul. So you must understand in self-awareness that you are a spirit, you have a soul, and then you live in a body. And all these aspects make up your personal leadership that requires to be developed. So, for instance, when it comes to your spiritual connection, you must understand how to hear from God. I mentioned it last week. You must understand your dreams. You must understand the voice of God within your human spirit. When God speaks, He speaks inside your heart. It comes like spontaneous thoughts. But you are not the owner of that thought. You just see bursts of thoughts within you. You must learn. You must learn how to decode those messages. You must learn how to understand it. You must learn sometimes it's a thin line between the voice of God and your intuition. You must learn how to follow those voices that guides you into your specific purpose in life. Okay? And then when it talks about your soul, you must also do a lot of shedding within your soul. Most of us have a lot of things that we are carrying, emotional barriers. If I'm to ask you, how do you feel about yourself? When you think about yourself, when you look in yourself in the mirror, what do you see? Do you feel shame? Do you feel anger? What exactly do you feel about yourself? How you feel about yourself affects your results in life. Not that you can't do it, but because you are paying attention to your feelings. And let me tell you, feelings are powerful. People say ignore feelings. I say no. Rewrite and rewire your feelings. You can't ignore a feeling. You only have to rewire your feeling. Why most of us are struggling is because we are trying to ignore our feelings. You can only ignore for a moment, it will kick in. But you have to rewire that feeling. So if you have a feeling of rejection, you can't ignore it. You will keep feeling rejected and it will keep affecting you. What you need to do is to rewire it into a feeling of love. You have to rewire your appreciation of yourself. You have to rewire the process of shame and then begin to acknowledge the good things of your life, own your mistakes, plan for the future, and forge ahead. Okay, so some of the intrapersonal skills when you are talking about your soul that I believe that every human being should pay attention to, look at your emotional control, look at goal setting, look at how do you critically, do self-reflection. When you look at your strengths, when you look at your weaknesses, what's your mindset about them? Okay, do you have resilience? Are you adaptable? Do you have self-confidence? Do you hope? Do you dream? All those things are elements of the soul. Do you have self-discipline? Okay, Do you delay gratification when it is not going to move in the direction that you want it to go? Other interpersonal skills that you should look at is, are you actively listening to other people? What about your verbal communication, your non-verbal communication? Do you have empathy? Okay. Your collaboration, your teamwork, your ability to work with people, your delegation, your leadership ability, your problem solving. All those aspects of your life needs to be developed. You can't just wake up and say, okay, I'm pursuing success. You have to sit down, take stock, ask yourself, what aspects of my life, your emotional intelligence, what exactly in your soul that needs to be developed. So you work on your spiritual life. A lot of people work on their spiritual life. They don't work on their mind. They don't work on their mindset. They don't work on their physical body. I entered this year with a goal that I'm going to start exercise. I put it in my plan. Every day I check it out. I've not started exercise. Every day I've checked it out. I've not started exercise. I am glad to announce to you that in the month of March, I've started checking that I'm going to and I'm doing exercise. I now have a gym that I go to as part of my goal. So most times when you have a goal before you, even if they all don't start at the same time, but because you are constantly looking at it, constantly reviewing it, so when I establish my goal for the year, when I go to review it, I'll just remind myself, you said you will do this one, you've not started. You said you will start exercising, you've not started. You said you are going to do this about your health, you've not started. The more I constantly look at it, what happens is that it will kick in and that I will start. The Bible says, write the vision, make it plain, so that those who read will run. Someone will say, no, but I have my vision in my head. Yes, but you are not wiser than God. He said, write it down so that you will read it. Okay? Don't listen to the vision in your head. Read the one that you've written down. Take it out of your head, write it down. It will force you towards accomplishment. Okay? So, riding along, how do we connect the dots? How do we connect the dots? This is how I help you connect the dots. If you are struggling with direction and clarity, you have an issue with purpose. So if you are constantly waking up, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, you are feeling depressed, you don't know the next actions, you are confused, is a clear sign that you are lacking purpose. If you are struggling with discipline, chances are you are struggling with purpose. You don't have a sense of purpose. There is no discipline that you are pursuing. There's no discipline that you are focusing on. That is what it means to lack discipline. Okay? If you are struggling with relationships, it means that you are possibly lacking personal leadership. If you don't have the right people around you, you are not developing the right kind of friends. You are not attracting the right kind of suitors. You are not finding yourself in an environment where the right kind of people that you desire are there. You are likely struggling with leadership. And what did I say about that? You see yourself in them. So you see a rich guy, you want to be in their clique. But when you go, you are not able to blend in. You call them on phone, they don't want to associate with you. Yes, you see yourself in them, but they don't see themselves in you. So there is no common ground. The Bible says, can two work together except they agree? So instead of pursuing relationship, raise the bar. Don't you see that even in your Bible says that successful people have many friends. Why? People want to associate with who they will look like or who they already look like. So you attract who you are, not what you want. You don't attract who you want, you attract who you are. So relationship is not a problem. Lack of purpose, personal leadership is the problem. So when you see a business that is struggling with customers, for instance, I'm branching out to talk to you guys for business. So if you see a business that is lacking customers, the customers are not the problem. The problem is that the business does not have a clearly defined purpose. The business does not have a clearly defined leadership. And as long as leadership and purpose is lacking, you are going to lack customers. It's as simple as that. What is purpose? The value. What is the value proposition? What exactly are you selling? Do you have the right mix of the customers? Are you directing it to the people you are supposed to direct it? Are you driving the business as the owner of the business? You go to your office by 10 a.m., you go home by 1, and you don't go again till the next 2 weeks. Is that how to grow a business? If there's no personal leadership, personal responsibility, You won't even put the work required for customers to come. So before complaining that you don't have customers, ask yourself, have I checked out purpose for my business? And have I checked out leadership for my business? Okay. So as we go, I'm going to be teaching you the whales. I'm going to be bringing the whales into the conversation, and you will see how they are all connected and why it's important for you to understand it. So, key tools I believe that you should develop for your personal leadership. The first one is personality test. Take personality test. Go online, type personality test. Okay. Are you a sanguine? Are you a choleric? Are you melancholic? Are you phlegmatic? What are your personality? Understand what your personalities are. Okay, they are also in line with your purpose. Your personality is in line with your purpose. There's a way you drive the way you drive. There are things you are supposed to drive. Your purpose is connected to driving things. There's a way you nurture the reason you the way you nurture things. There are things you are supposed to nurture. So your personality is also will come in alignment with your purpose. Do a SWOT analysis. We've talked about it last week. I won't dwell much on it. Understand your emotion. Okay, build your personal identity. Your personal identity should be strong on your purpose. So when you understand your purpose, you begin to tell yourself in your mind, you begin to design your life to reflect what you saw in your purpose. That's the best way to go about personal development. Like somebody who is drawing on a canvas, you bring out that picture from your purpose and then you begin to paint it the way you're supposed to look. Don't develop yourself the way you think people think you should be developed. Develop yourself in line with your purpose. Okay. Um, Benefits of personal leadership. This is where I summarize it. It is the foundation of a life of influence. It helps you focus on the important things to you. And then, of course, the last one is that your life is built intentionally and according to purpose. One of the things I would like you to reflect on today before I quickly open the workbook to go through it, uh, uh, so that some of you might not have a lot of questions to ask me later, is first, what specific strengths and weaknesses did you identify? When you did your SWOT analysis, what are those specific strengths and weaknesses did you identify? Okay. How can you be intentional about working on your weaknesses and then amplifying your strengths? Okay. In what ways can you intentionally build emotional intelligence in your daily interaction? How can you be more emotionally intelligent when working with people? How does your current self image align with your purpose and goal? When you look at yourself, when people think of you, their image of you, how does it align with your purpose? I remember when I knew God wanted me to go into politics. Anybody who was around me then will understand clearly what I'm saying. When God wanted me to go into politics, I intentionally introduced myself as a politician. I'm in a country where people don't like politicians, where people, don't like associating with politicians. I will intentionally, if somebody asks me, okay, so how do we introduce you? He say, right, that I'm a transformational leader, a politician, and an entrepreneur. I was intentionally putting it. Why? I wanted to make sure that my self-image aligns with the purposes and the goals that I am setting. I want that when people are thinking of a political conversation, they should think about me. They should call me to ask my opinion, to ask me what I think about the issues about politics. And intentionally, in fact, other areas of my life started struggling. I did that consecutively for 1 to 2 years. People forgot everything I used to do. People forgot I was a business trainer. People forgot I was a transformation coach. People forgot almost every aspect of my life. The only image in their head is Nonso, the politician. And then what we are trying to do now is to balance out those arms so that we have the right center of image the way it should have. It means that you have to be intentional about making people see you and recognize you the way you want. You have to be intentional about it. Life is about being intentional. Life is about asking yourself, what do I want to make out of life? That is what it is. Okay. So I want to quickly, our time has uh, been quite spent. So I want to quickly, move into the uh, the workbook. Okay, so if you can see my screen and the workbook on the screen, can you give me a thumbs up? Can you guys see the workbook? Okay, let me do some magic. Somebody is giving me a thumbs down. Sorry. Let me fix it. Let me fix it. Can you see it now? Can I get a thumbs up? Awesome. Fortune, I'm still getting a thumbs down. I hope I didn't make you angry in the session. Okay,
No,
awesome.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not
I'm
seeing
still
it yet.
getting
I don't know why.
thumbs up so you guys can see this. Um, so the first
I'm not
aspect
seeing
of
it too. I'm not seeing it too.
the
I'm not seeing it.
so the first aspect of the workbook, okay, we are looking at personal leadership. Okay, so under personal leadership, because of time, I'm just going to, I won't read everything, but you are going to get this in the group so that you can work on it. And if you have extra questions, you can say ask me. Okay, so what is personal leadership? Personal leadership is the ability to take responsibility for your thoughts, for your actions, for your decisions, leading yourself towards growth, impact, and purpose. So that is how I defined it. So you are responsible for the thoughts in your mind. You are responsible for the actions that you take. You are responsible for your decisions. You are responsible for leading yourself specifically towards growth, impact, and purpose. So some of the questions I would like you to reflect on is, what does leadership mean to you? Identify one personal challenge you face when it comes to leading yourself. So here, I want you to not just look at defining leadership the way people will define leadership. Here, I want you to now redefine leadership for yourself. And then when you redefine leadership for yourself, you then ask yourself, what areas am I finding personal challenge in terms of leading myself? Okay. So write a personal leadership statement. Example, I commit to leading myself with integrity, discipline, and a clear sense of purpose. Have a personal statement guiding what you are supposed to do once you discover that. The next thing is, why are we not changing? So many people desire change but struggle because of lack of clarity, fear of failure, or inconsistent action. Okay, so you can see that I wrote it according to the three aspects of your life. Lack of clarity is connected to purpose, it's connected to your human spirit. Fear of failure is connected to your emotions, the way you feel about yourself. And then inconsistent action is talking about your physical body, the actions that you take that are not consistent with what you are supposed to do in life. So why are you not changing? Some people might say, it might be spiritual. Okay, spiritual is just one third of it. What about the fear of failure? What about the inconsistent action? Okay, so for you to fail, at least every area of your life needs to be experiencing failure. It means your spirit, your soul, and your body. There are people who are not Christians, they don't have a saved soul, but their mind is working, their body is working, and then you see them, they are moving towards purpose. And let me say, it's not everybody. I've said it before, but let me say it again. Maybe it's in somebody's mind. You don't necessarily need to be a Christian to discover purpose. You need to follow the codes. You see, your purpose is like a code within you. Every human being born on earth, with or without God, you have that internal drive that moves you to what you are supposed to do in life. Every human being. I sat down under God and I saw many examples on examples. There are many non-Christians who are fulfilling purpose even more than Christians who hear the voice of God, simply because they are paying attention to what is going on inside their soul. God has encoded your purpose within your soul. This is why I always say, when you discover your purpose, it will not be strange to you. When you find out what you're supposed to do in life, it won't be strange to you. Moses had a passion to save the people of Israelites. Where did that passion come from? It was encoded inside him by the time he was born. Jesus had a passion to save the world. Where was it? It was encoded inside him while he was in his mother's womb. He has been encoded. So even without an encounter, somewhere inside you, you already know. Why the encounter comes is to solidify it. So you are no longer crazy inside. You are no longer confused. Encounter makes it definite. But almost everybody you will hear that is doing anything with God, we always tell you that somewhere, somehow, their mother used to tell them, or they used to know, or they used to feel like something. There is somewhere buried within your soul. The reason why most of us don't discover it is that we are not paying attention. What is one area in your life where you feel stuck? Can you reflect over it and write it? And why you are writing these things is that when you now come to the group session, it's an opportunity for us to now talk about it. It's an opportunity for us to now share. You know, um, when you bring it out, they will begin to discuss it. You can now ask specific questions. That is why you need to complete this workbook before your group meeting. And then you also need to show up in your meetings. Don't say you don't have time, that you couldn't do it. Make out time for what is important to you. Okay? So, what has been holding you back from making a real change? You note it down. Practical exercises: identify one limiting belief you hold and reframe it into an empowering belief. Example: I am not good enough. I am growing and improving every day. So, yes, you might not be good enough, but you are growing and improving every day. I might not be a good speaker. I don't consider myself a speaker. I don't think I'm speaking the way I want to be speaking, but I am growing and I am improving every day. My marriage might not be where it's supposed to be, but I'm growing. I'm improving every day. I'm not raising my kids the way I want to raise them, but I'm growing and I'm improving every day. So there's an empowering statement to your belief. I might not be as beautiful as I'm supposed to look, but I know that the people who I'm supposed to do whatever I'm supposed to do in life will find me beautiful. I had an empowering thought today. Maybe I can share, where something happened and I felt like, oh, if this thing that happens like this happens, maybe it will not lead me to this. And I changed the empowering thoughts in my head immediately. And what I told myself that, yes, anytime God will need to promote me, he will not do the promotion based on the things I don't have or cannot do. He will organize the promotion around the things I do. He will organize it around my strength. It's an empowering statement. So instead of feeling depressed and feeling that, no, maybe this is not going to work because of this weakness or because of that weakness, I tell myself, no, when God wants to bless me, he's not going to look at my weakness, he's going to look at my strength, and the opportunity will come in the area of my strength. When David wanted to kill Goliath, he didn't kill Goliath with his sword. He didn't kill Goliath with the acceptable standard, the qualifications, but there was something he had that God turned into strength. It was just a string. How do you kill Goliath with a string? But because it was his strength, God used it for his promotion. And that is why I said that why it's good for you to recognize your weakness. Do not downplay your strength. You must amplify your strength. There is no strength that is little. The Bible said that if your strength, if your faith is as little as a mustard seed, it can move mountains. Okay? So purpose-driven goal setting goals that align with your purpose. Great leaders set intentional goals that align with their core values and purpose. So you see where these things must come from. It must come from purpose. So you set the goal, it has to be specific. It has to be measurable. That means that it is something that is measurable. So it's not ambiguous. It's not saying that I want to be a good speaker. No, it has to be measurable. I want to be a good speaker by so, or by doing so that when I see myself doing those things, is a measure to me being a good speaker. Achievable. Is this realistic? Relevant. Does this align with purpose? Time bound. What is your deadline? Okay. So practical exercises that you are going to do is set your purpose driven goal using the SMART goal method. Example: instead of saying I want to read more, say I will read one book on leadership every month and summarize my key learnings. So you see, this is measurable, it's time bound, it's specific. Okay, it's on leadership, it's every month. I'm going to summarize my lessons. So it is specific. It's a book. It's not a magazine. It's not internet blog. It's specific. So this is what I want you to do. Based on your purpose, develop a 7-year goal in line with your vision and mission. Okay? So ask yourself, year 1, 2025. You can fill it in when you are writing it. 2025, this is what I want to accomplish. 2026, this is what I want to accomplish. 2027, this is what I want to accomplish. Develop it to 7 years from now to the next 7 years of your life. The question is, what do you want to accomplish in the next 7 years? In line with your purpose, in line with your vision and mission. Okay? We want you to write it down in the workbook. Okay? And then break it down to this year. We're already in March, but it's fine. So you can plan from March till January next year. Maybe you can add dates to it. So this January can be 2026. So I want you to plan your year according to your purpose, according to your 7-year plan. Break it down to a monthly plan. Ask yourself, in terms of your activities, your goals, your habits, your money, things you want to do, your family, break it down and ask yourself, this is my goal for January, my February, April, the books you want to read, where you want to be in your spiritual life. Just begin to type it in. This is what document you can expand. Just begin to type everything you want to accomplish for a particular month that you are driving towards. Okay. And then, of course, let's look at self-awareness, man, in 3 dimensions. Spiritual awareness. How connected do you feel to your purpose? What spiritual habits can you cultivate to grow? Write down those spiritual habits you believe you can cultivate, and then commit yourself, whether to prayer, whether to meditation, whether to scripture reading. Commit yourself to that. And in terms of your intrapersonal skills, ask yourself, how do you speak to yourself daily? How do you speak to yourself? Think about what you think about. Okay, let me say it again. Think about what you think about. If possible, start writing down your thoughts, your most pervasive thoughts. Start thinking about what you are thinking about, and then begin to change how you speak to yourself. Do you push down on yourself? Are you hard on yourself? Do you tell yourself you can't? Do you tell yourself you cannot achieve results? Or are you speaking empowering thoughts? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Identify it so that it will be before your eyes. Practical exercise: list strengths, 3 strengths, and 1 area of improvement in your character. I'm supposed to add a table here for you, but I think I forgot it. So, okay, maybe I can do it quickly so I don't forget again. So, list 3 areas of your strengths and 1 area of improvement in your character. List it, and then have a balanced view of what it is. Then interpersonal skills with your relationship, that's your relationship with others. How do you communicate your thoughts and ideas? How do you handle conflict with people? Okay. Practical exercises: identify 1 relationship you want to improve and outline 1 action you will take to strengthen it. And then, of course, finally, we are looking at action plan for personal leadership, your leadership growth plan. Here, I want you to identify areas like your self-discipline, decision-making, time management, finance, emotional intelligence. You can keep increasing the list, to whatever you want. Ask yourself, what is your current status? And then what action steps are you going to take to improve? So let's say here you add finance, okay? And then your current status, maybe you are still where you find yourself not able to meet your needs. Okay, so if you have a monthly needs, you are still not able to meet those monthly needs. Then the next thing you're going to ask yourself is, what current actions do you need to take financially in order to improve your finances? Be specific about it. As much as you can, be specific about it. Okay. Then in terms of your spiritual development, this week I've been sending you guys a daily um, encouragement to continue to work on your goal. I'm also going to resume that today. Okay. So from tomorrow, I'm going to be sending you daily nuggets, which means that each time you receive it in that group, it's a reminder for you to sit and reflect, sit and pray. Write down the time. One of the guys who came to the session in the group was writing the specific time he was using to do his activities. What that kind of activities? To sit down to time to pray. You can make it specific. It's easy when you make it specific. You can tell yourself, every day by 6 a.m. I need to wake up, or every day by 11 p.m. I need to wake up. And then you sit specifically. You read, you write, you pray, you reflect, and you do it from now till next Tuesday. And of course, I want to encourage you to join the session. Maybe I would like one or two persons who join the sessions to say something before we close. So if you join the session within the week, I'm sure it was worth it. Okay, maybe one or two people can just say something quickly in the next 60 seconds so that we can move forward. So I encourage you to join, the review session. We've already posted it in the group. Find out the time your group meets. Schedule it, put an alarm. Some people will say, oh, I forgot. Put an alarm. Put an alarm. How would you feel if you come next Tuesday and I'm not here? And I now type in the group by 6:30 or by 7:30. I say, sorry guys, I forgot to have a meeting today. Would you take me as a serious person? You would think I'm an unserious person. Okay. When you miss meetings like these that are important for your growth and success, you are also telling yourself, I'm not the one telling you that. You are telling yourself that you are an unserious person. You are making yourself an unserious person. You are not taking empowering thoughts to stay to the commitments that you've agreed to in order for you to be successful. Okay. And then put your date of review and then we'll sign it off. Thank you, guys. I believe this was a wonderful session for you. I believe you must have learned something that is great and empowering for you. I want you to remain steadfast in working on your goals, in building on who you are supposed to be. And I'm going to see you guys next week. Thank you very much.